I'm here to share with you the journey of me being cracked open on the dance floor and how we can take the power of the dance floor to everyday moments and ultimately turn the world into a dance floor. So there I was, surrounded by 10,000 of the world's most outrageous party animals, dressed to the teeth in paints, costumes, things I'd never seen before. This was August 2011, and I had spent this month traveling by myself. And my journey ended at Shambhala, a 5-day music festival in British Columbia. So I spent the first 3 days of this 5-day music festival really confused. I didn't understand what was happening. People were being so open and positive to each other. It didn't make any sense to me. I had no idea how to respond. I saw people who never met each other give each other hugs as though they were best friends reuniting after years of not seeing each other. And this dance floor, this music festival, was in the middle of the Canadian Rockies, close to nature. I'd never been in a space that was so vibrant. And all these new forms of self-expression I had never seen. But what I noticed is that any way a person chose to present themselves and bring themselves to the world, they didn't meet negative judgment very often. It was a space of little to no negative judgment where a person could bring themselves to the world as they chose to. So after 3 days of battling this massive wave of positivity and this radical self-expression, I gave in and I said yes, and I participated. And I brought myself to the world, and it was great. And for me, Shambhala became a space where I could bring myself to the world as I chose to, and I learned that dance floors are spaces where self-expression isn't simply encouraged, but it's celebrated. So I asked someone who'd been there since the beginning for 16 years, every year at this festival, what made this festival such a special place? And he said, it's here where we can take off our psychic armor. And so on this final night, with my new friends, there's this guy, Andrew, who I just met, and out of all the possible ways a person could choose to express who they are, he chose to wear an oven mitt. And he gave out the most high fives I've ever seen. I don't think I've ever seen a more appropriate use of an oven mitt in my life. So I'm surrounded by these 10,000 party animals, and they're dressed in clothes and costumes so vibrant. And I'm realizing that what they're wearing isn't simply a costume that they threw on. It was something deep within them that they chose to bring to the world. It was as if their insides were matching their outsides, and there was something enchanting about this. And here we are, all listening to the same music at the same time, turning it into our unique expression of the music, and I can feel the depth of openness and connection in the crowd. And then something deep hits me. This is much richer than simply a dance party. This is actually a ceremony. This feels more along the lines of a ritual. And I feel that the DJ is in fact the shaman, the priest who's in touch with the divine and delivering his message to the people through his music. And we are praying through our dance. And when you're in touch with the crowd and in tune with it on this level, you expand beyond yourself. And something within me woke up. And the dance floor that night gave me a new sense of what's possible between people. So having been so blown open by the dance floor, I started asking myself, I was like, what is the power of the dance floor? Where else do people get this close to each other and have these kinds of interactions and sense of shared alignment? So here we are, packed into a metro. It's rush hour, but none of us would choose to be there. Here we are at a sports game. People love going there, and there's immense amounts of positive interactions, but the intention isn't aligned because there's two teams. There's a winner and there's a loser. Here are Muslim people on Hajj at Mecca, and the picture's mind-blowing because it's literally as dense as human beings can get next to each other. And they absolutely have a sense of shared intention and purpose. And if you look at what happens at music festivals and the way we congregate there, music brings people together and builds community on the scale of religion. So having undergone this transformational experience, the question for me was, how do I carry this forward? How do I maintain this sense of openness and connection? How do I keep that spark lit? And for the next 3 months, I was still at the music festival. I was still on the dance floor. I was encouraging people to open up and to share themselves because I believe that underneath that psychic armor so many of us wear, there's something deep within us that wants to share itself with the world, something amazing we all have to offer. And so 3 months after being back home in Montreal, the DJ that brought me to that new height at the music festival came to Montreal, and I stepped onto that dance floor. Being on that dance floor back in Montreal was in many ways exactly the opposite of being on the dance floor at the music festival. Instead of a sense of shared connection, there was deep separation and disconnection between people. The crowd was riddled with tension, and I could feel those barriers back up. And so I went back to the music festival in summer 2012, and one of the more interesting dance floors I stepped onto there was my first silent disco. So a silent disco is a different way to have a dance party. Instead of a normal speaker setup where people just hear the music through the speakers, at a silent disco, the DJ or musician has an FM transmitter, and then everyone in the crowd has a special pair of headphones with an FM receiver. So the only way you hear the music is if you're wearing this pair of headphones that has the FM receiver. So if you take off the headphones, if you're at a silent disco, you don't hear any of the music, and it's completely surreal. You hear everything else. You hear the feet stomping, the clapping, the cheering. And then if you put the headphones on, you're right back in there with everyone else. So this was an interesting dance floor. I returned back to the city, and I still feel this psychic armor that so many of us are wearing that covers up and prevents our true colors from shining through. And even the way we use technology further increases the separation between us. People will be walking and texting, and they'll just be so minimally aware of their environment, they look like they're ghosts just floating by. And there is something subhuman about this. Their intention is entirely elsewhere. Even the way we listen to music in public space, we put on a pair of headphones, and all of a sudden we are completely sealed off from our environment. So instead of sharing the experience, we're only being alone together. And I realize, I believe that music is meant to be shared. And here we are, listening to music alone. And then something in me shifts, where I put on my pair of headphones and my MP3 player, and I realize that I'm a one-person silent disco. And I start jamming out. I am the DJ and I am the crowd. And I start seeing everyone else who's listening to their music with their headphones, and as they're walking around where I can feel the energy coming through them, they too are one-person silent discos. And I'm just like, what would happen if we could share? What would happen if we could connect? What would it be like? What if a group of people met up and shared this together? Where would they look? What would they do? So last May, I was so curious that I asked a group of friends to have an experiment with me. And I called it Silent Disco Squad. And what I did was I distributed an MP3, and I asked everyone to put it onto their MP3 player, and we met up at Tam Tam Statue. We circled up as a group, we counted down, and then we hit play. And we created our own shared music experience. We had our own silent disco. And I had no idea what to expect. It was Daft Punk's Revolution 909, one of my favorite songs. And we were dancing to it around the statue. And my friend comes up to me and he goes, "Why don't we take a walk with this? Let's see where this goes." So we start moving, and people have such amazing ways to respond to us because they can't hear the music. So we're walking by, and as we pass a hole-in-the-wall Portuguese chicken restaurant, one of the older chefs in the back sees us out of his window, and he's about to cook a chicken, and he picks up the chicken, and he starts dancing right along with us. And it was amazing. There was a moment as we were walking down Saint Laurent where I could feel the depth of the connection we were all experiencing and how hungry we were to be able to connect to each other this way. And it felt like the next chapter. So for the last year, I've been leading a project called Silent Disco Squad, where we do exactly this. We meet up, we count down, we press play, and then jam out. Here's what we've been up to for the last year.
Everybody ready? Yeah! 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, play!
So this is what we do. We meet up, circle up, count down, press play, and then respectfully spread joy and mayhem around our city. And we end with a group hug. But what's so amazing is how we're able to transform public space from what's happening into a spontaneous, joyous dance party. So here were two people innocently taking pictures for their wedding, looking great in their gown and tuxedo, and we come roaming by, and we're dancing, and they can't even hear the music. So we go up to them, and we share our headphones with them. And then they're right there with us, and they rock out, and it's beautiful. And this was a magic moment. These silent discos are magic. We're taking the magic to the streets, and we are re-enchanting a disenchanted world. Right now with Silent Disco Squad, we've built a website to make it as easy as possible for anyone to organize a silent disco in their city. And we've had silent discos in Toronto and Barcelona, and other cities around the world are starting to create their own as well. Imagine 50 cities where people could meet up once a month and jam out this way, spreading joy into their streets. That would be amazing. Now imagine if these 50 cities shared the same music file, and then every silent disco in their city counted down at the exact same time, hit play. We could have a global synchronized silent disco dance party. And we could show how technology is bringing us together on a global scale at that level. That would be amazing as well. But what we're moving towards is creating a new social norm, because by attending an event once a month where you connect to each other this way and you share music through headphones, it opens up the possibility of doing this in a completely organic way, so that you could walk onto a bus, you could see what someone else around you is listening to, and then you could have the choice of joining them live right then and there. And in that moment of connection, these two people have a sense of shared recognition. No longer are they two strangers on a bus, but they're two human beings connecting to each other through music. And that's what Silent Disco Squad is about. Taking one of the most unifying forces we know of, music, to bring us together in the space where you'd expect it the least and where we need it the most, urban public space. And what's interesting about how we do it is that we use headphones. Up until now, headphones have been a way to disconnect and to say no to the world. Thinking back to that psychic armor, that's what the headphones are. They are the physical symbol of the psychic armor. You put them on and you communicate to the world, leave me alone. But now we're using the same technology that threatens to separate us to bring us closer together. Now the headphones are no longer that shield, but they're that bridge we can use to connect. And the intention is to saturate urban experiences with these connections through headphones and music devices. And when we do, there could be the possibility of having these at any moment. You could see spontaneous dance parties on campus. People waiting in line at supermarkets could connect to each other and have a dance party. People on the bus. The whole world would be a dance floor. So, I invite you, all you music lovers, all you beautiful dancers, to everyone who listens to music with a pair of headphones, take the dance party to the streets, because it's time to get ourselves out of the way and let music do what it's here to do, which is bring us closer together. And the secret is that the world already is a dance floor. You already are a one-person silent disco, and that person walking down the street, jamming out to their music, they already are too. Now is the time to synchronize. Keep turning the world into a dance floor. Thank you.